Thank you also. It's good that we could make that swap, and at least I'll try to make sure that the story that I'm going to tell you today makes sense across what we have been talking since the beginning of the morning. My topic it's quite simple. Is to talk about the era of what I call the unified intelligence, where business intelligence products meet AI. At the end, it's all about decision making, and I hope that in this presentation you can assess what will happen 5 years from now. So let me drive you through the presentation. We will talk about this agenda. I'm going to address the elements of change of what is happening already within the BI world, and how AI is already present in most of the BI products, name it Click, Power BI, Tableau, or any other BI product that you know of. And I'm going to analyze the data lifecycle and how BI products are made, and how AI is taking over each one of those steps already. Moving forward, I think I already introduced myself a lot, but not with a hat. So that's me with a hat. In that picture, you see that I am visiting one of our vessels. My company, Van Oord, is a Dutch company that is 150 years old, is in the maritime sector. I like to be known as Pepe, and I am the business intelligence tech lead of Van Oord. I'm part of the data and analytics team, which is composed of a data platform team, also data pipelines team, a data governance team, and lastly, the data products team, where I am part of. Experienced 13 years in the EPCOM industry, also known as engineering, procurement, construction, operations, and maintenance. Before Van Oord, I was from the organization Fluor, which is an engineering and construction company. And I joined Van Oord a year and a half ago. Been in oil and gas, mining, power, chemical, and now in marine. Most of the time spending my time at the fields, understanding how either project managers, construction builders, or now captains are trying to make a decision. Background is on economics and on architecture as well. And in this picture on the right side, I went up with the whole team. We were doing a revamp of this vessel, and it's 100 meters high. So we are trying to increase the height to 125 meters of this vessel called Svanen. And so that you get an idea, that person is over there, so it's really, really high. And it also tells a lot about how our technicians, which are not AI, need to be exposed to hazards, right? I cannot make AI reduce the fact that a technician potentially can fall. Is it? I don't know. There's a lot of applications of technology, but at the end, when it comes to safety in operations, you do not want distractions from a technician. So a lot will be coming to that throughout the presentation. And in this picture, I want to show one thing that is quite nice from that vessel, called Svanen. This is Svanen in a timeline, and we call it the swan of steel with more lives than a cat. So that vessel was built in 1990, and initially was meant to help in the construction of bridges. So it went to the sea, and then it started to make joints between the different parts of the bridge. Across time, this vessel started to pace up with the market trends, and we saw that there was a big need of actually changing the energy decomposition of the entire industry. And Svanen was able to pick one part of a bridge and join it together. But we also saw that technically we could make this vessel lift very heavy objects. Therefore, the application for lifting a monopile was there. So we introduced Svanen to the renewable energy markets. And now this vessel, what it's doing is installing monopiles in the North Sea. It's a huge business right now. So things are going well. And part of what we strive, and my story here is that change is a constant. Like this conference, GenAI is changing our ecosystems from an individual point of view and from a business point of view. So that's running at the sea. It's quite an impressive vessel, and we are operating 108 vessels across the world, and not on a daily basis, depending on the projects. We deploy them to different locations. We're working heavily right now in the North Sea, and the company has a very, I would say, important value proposition for the world, which is two-side-folded. One of them is that we enhance the energy transition by delivering climate adaptation and marine infrastructure solutions. How? Through two business units. The first one is dredging and infra. So we have vessels that basically take sand from a location and build an island, or maybe expand the port of Rotterdam, or any other, or maybe build a big quay so that you can increase the operations of logistics for your ports. We also built the palms of Jumeirah in Dubai. So if you just do the picture, you'll find that those palms were created by Van Oord as well, in cooperation with other contractors. And that is our business unit, dredging and infra. That is climate adaptation, because every day we have an increasing sea level. And a lot of countries are now exposed to flooding. So our business unit is trying to adapt to this situation. And on the other side, we have offshore energy, where, of course, Svanen and many other vessels that we have are installing monopiles to provide more energy to our grids. So, as said, 150 years old company, and there's a lot of IoT use cases for sure. Every vessel produces tons of sensor data. Just to give you an idea of all the data products that we have, one of them is trying to understand the patterns on the currents of the sea to combine it with weather information, basically so that the captain decides to go left or right or to stop the vessel, because the currents of the sea and the entire situation that he is recurring has an impact on fuel consumption, on potential delays of transporting the monopiles to the exact location. So all of this planning of historical data, we use it to forecast when is it wise to deploy 1 or 2 ships or 3 ships due to weather conditions that might affect our planning. I encourage you to, if you have time, to go through that QR code, because data at Van Oord is not only for Van Oord. This map is a live map. I think it's a batch-based fed, but it shows the exposure on a worldwide basis on all the coastlines that are potentially getting a flood. If you could zoom in inside of the tool, you will find that we use this tool to provide you information so that you make a decision. Are you our target audience? Maybe if you're government, yes. Because you can actually engage with a conversation with us to talk about how we can improve, your exposure, right? And the thing is that our team strives to enable decision makers like you and your companies to have insights and foresights. And the culture that we have been working on has been long-lasting, and our legacy is always to move along the culture. But to the point of this conference is that the data culture is changing too fast. It's really difficult to keep up with all the changes on GenAI and so on. Why? Every single one of you, potentially, I'm gonna make a big guess, is making one decision based on what you talk with ChatGPT. Maybe, and that's a big maybe, because you gain trust on your own operated LLM that you have in your pocket. And as a company, I'm concerned, because that information that you're taking is potentially something that I won't be able to see as a business intelligence tech lead, and you most likely will take left or right without us knowing as a corporation. So it's affecting the way that we work on a people, processes, data, and technology point of view. Those are statistics of, that you can get right now that gives you a sense of urgency, which is 3 out of 5 workers currently use or plan to use generative AI in their daily lives. Generative AI will reduce workload by 60 to 70%. So processes are going to be automated, will be made redundant because a Gen AI is replacing how a transactional system is meant to be. Gartner predicts that by 2025, 10% of all data produced will be made by generative AI. All right? According to Gartner, 60% of the data used to develop AI and analytics will be generated synthetically, which we will expand a little bit more in the upcoming slides. And lastly, more than 92% of Fortune 500 companies are using ChatGPT. The message here is, where do we start this cycle in your company? Is it starting that technology defines your reality on the processes? Or perhaps people do it and how that influences the circle? Every single operating model that we have in our business units is defined by a practice. And the point is where you want to come in. You want to jump into the technology and make gigantic firewalls to the entire set of your company to not allow ChatGPT to be used, or maybe you will allow it, and how that will affect people that are working on their lives in your company. It's a big puzzle, and it's affecting precisely already Van Oord through, give me a second, I think I missed one slide. Oh no. It's affecting Van Oord because of the advancements of the big tech companies. Maybe you've heard of Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, and Microsoft doing like this, pushing us. Our company is Microsoft 365 first, so it means that we're moved to Microsoft Fabric, even we want it or not, it needs to happen. So we have a legacy of Click and Power BI products. And part of this analysis is how do we make that, that marriage to happen in a good way? Because this is also positive, right? It's about how you address it and how you control it. So how does BI meet AI? First thing that I want to maybe let you know is that I look at data in this cycle. Maybe you have another one, but at least let me bring you to my idea on how I revisit the data life cycle for any BI product. You have most likely a way that you collect data, may name it Excel, or let's go to SAP. That is your method to acquire data. Nowadays is also ChatGPT, because every prompt is actually generating data that could be reused. Then there is a moment in which you touch the connecting part. Maybe if you can connect to simple APIs or very dynamic ones. There's a topic once you connect, which is modeling. Then you go into analyze. Once you have found the ways that you want to do diagnostics, descriptive, predictive, prescriptive, or cognitive analytics, you move to visualizing so that finally someone can decide, because that's the whole point of business intelligence, to provide intelligence for a decision maker to take right or left. On the right side, there is a robot, and the left side, it seems concerned person. But yeah, there is this world that is meeting, and that is business intelligence meeting AI. So let's, my intention here is to go through each one of the 6 points, and I'm not wanting you to read every precise thing that is written here, but later, maybe, if you want to use these slides to compare what you have in your company, might be good. I'll focus on the orange ones. So on the data acquisition, collecting, and data connecting, there's a couple of big changes happening. And this is 5 years from now, something that happens so that you address what you need to do today. So data sources on a traditional BI data lifecycle without BI, without AI, are primarily structured data sources. That's quite clear. But if you go to AI, you have the reach to get semi-structured, structured, and unstructured. That is a pivotal change. So definitely you must have it. As spoken in the previous presentations, that is the power of LLMs that can go into unstructured data and bring more context to a dimension, which would be a relational view, right? Another thing that it's important is that in traditional BI, there's a manual data entry and scheduling ETLs and pipelines. Well, in AI-assisted BI, it's automated data collection, Of course, there's a background of architectural things that need to happen, but there is not a thing so powerful as advanced web scraping. If you touch your LLM in your pocket and you just give it a chance to go through the entire web to get information, we'll do it in seconds. Traditional BI cannot do that. On storage, I think both of the BI traditional and AI assisted will be using the same mechanisms, delta lakes, and basically nurturing from data lake houses where all the information is stored in the same way. The only thing is that computing power on the right side for actually hosting an LLM is very expensive because it goes too much time to store data. Data quality on the left side, human-based, largely manual. On the right side, I'm not sure if it's actually going to be as effective, but it will automate most of the things. Data integration, it's also time-consuming for any human-based process. And it goes with traditional ETL tools, whilst in the AI-assisted, it can work with a nice thing, which is a big difference. This part on traditional BI is batch-based, well, almost near real time, because it goes through a stack of staging layers. But on the right side, we have real-time data combined with batch. Give an example. You're in a finance organization. You're trying to get the factual information of what happened in your profit and loss statement this month, and you want context about that business unit. The LLM gives you real-time context of whatever you're reading, but the other thing won't change. It's batch. It's one time. So that combination is quite powerful on that side. And lastly, on this section, the power of conversational queries for the AI-assisted lifecycle can be nurtured if you make a focus on the center, which I'm going to address in a couple of slides. Long story short on this slide, who needs to focus? Who focuses on acquisition and collecting? Platform engineers. And they need to focus on, my perception, in 5 years from now, after they handle all the amount of new data sources, it's going to be a concern on security, privacy, ethics, and cost management. So the role of platform engineers basically will be assisted by automation of acquiring data, but they need to control how the LLMs are acquiring data. So they need to focus on security, privacy, and ethics, because an LLM that is not controlled and governed will query anything and will populate your entire data warehouse with maybe things that you want or do not want, or maybe that will potentially incur into riches. Moving on this part, modeling. I think out of all the things that you see here, it's quite relatable to the previous slide, but it's the message here is the following. Traditional BI has been made by relational modeling. So a dimension to a fact, right? Most of your SQL data warehouses are configured in that way, where you have your cubes and so on. Now, AI-based, LLM-based assisted lifecycle combines large language models, which have a completely different setup than a relational schema, because they are based on non-relational data sources. So how do you meet both worlds? We'll talk about that in a minute. But the point is that the change also happened on a technology point of view quite dramatically. And I think currently is the biggest gap that every organization has. They have not been able to meet both worlds from a technology point of view because they miss, in general, semantic technologies. That is a big, well, not failure, but a big ladder that needs to be addressed, which is that LLMs are coming with a different mindset on how to structure databases compared to your legacy data warehouses. And all of that is coming from SAP HANA, Oracle, and so on. Needs to switch to that mentality of non-relational data sources. I think from here, another important thing is is the analyze part, where you have all the scope for data scientists, which is that LLMs have libraries that they can use and reuse to apply the same algorithms to different relatable queries. While in BI, the exercise is a little bit different because you apply it by schema. And the copying one schema algorithm to the next one is quite a change in the technology stack. That's on those two things, the key takeaway from a people point of view, because we're revisiting the wheel. Most likely you have data engineers and scientists already in your teams. They will be, in 5 years from now, sitting in a chair. Maybe there were 50, and by then there will be 10. And those 10 will be focusing on strategic initiatives, ones that are corporate, that meet entire enterprise models. Why? Because the other part of the 40 FTEs is taken over by Gen AI. On the automation of these models, create a Kimball model, star schema, done in seconds. But the big thing will be making sure that those data engineers and scientists work on ontologies, because that is the hard meeting on how you meet both worlds. That they also work on taxonomies and improve the metadata layer on how these worlds meet. I'll show you a picture of that to make a little bit more contextual the thing. Lastly, of this lifecycle view, I'm just conscious of time, all right, is where the decision making is happening. Everything that is done before is useless if you're not able to show something useful to the decision maker, right? We can have a Gen AI do the best and most complex algorithm to determine if the fuel that you have in your car that is shown in the dashboard will allow you to reach your home today. Yeah, it can be as complex and stupid as that, but at the end it's you as a human being that are taking the decision. Should I stop for fuel? Not? I don't know. So the focus again is in the behavior of your decision maker. So what's happening here, a big shift, I think the biggest one, which is there is no space for report builders anymore. Microsoft, because we use it a lot, allowed Copilot to be embedded within the BI stack on Power BI through Fabric. And if you prompt right now to our system, Copilot will generate a report or many as you want it, because it's dynamic. So it's personalized experience. There is a gigantic change on the BI world and the visualization world. Especially because in the traditional one, me and a team of a UI and a UX expert, someone that was doing the Scrum, and a product manager and an analytics translator was reaching you as a stakeholder and interviewing you to give you one page. That is 2 weeks of time in a sprint. But this thing does it in seconds, precisely to what you want. So where are going to be the visualization builders? I don't know, but they won't be focusing on building visuals, for sure. One of the things that we're already trying to embrace at Van Oord is that we're starting to upskill and reskill our people to do effective AI prompting. And that means that we are talking with other colleagues that need to create these semantic models in a way that is human understandable, that the captain can understand, so it has business context. Another thing is that these report builders can implement standards on how you visualize your dashboards, but they also need to certify what is truth. Think about the following. If you request a dashboard today to look at the emissions of your company, your LLM in your pocket will give you a number. Then, I don't know, maybe 50 different versions of the truth you will have in your pockets. And that is a little bit concerning because as a BI tech lead, I cannot say what is the truth. Maybe how many carbon emissions do we have? Your truth, my truth, whose truth? The LLM's truth. What is the LLM's truth? It's a big concern, gigantic, especially because we're not focusing on the trust of this data that the LLMs could have based on a single source that would be our data warehouse. I think the change that I see, closing this slide, is that report builders are going to focus on storytelling, and the relation of storytelling to AI prompting is quite big. Storytelling is about concepts, right? That you start building on concepts across your story. That is the relation that you have to your prompts. And if you don't prompt correctly, the story won't be as effective as you want. That is the same case as you navigate a knowledge graph. So a lot of people will be focusing on how to make the effective storytelling based on prompts. Lastly, on endorsing and certifying the datasets. Most of the change happened because a technical advantage, which I think already hasn't been expanded in the initial slides, which is that when that staging layer was created, which was maybe this siloed data that you had in your company with structured data and relational data sources, with the introduction of lake houses, both worlds were able to meet, where structured, unstructured, and semi-structured data are stored in the same format. And by then, it's very easy to apply a technology to behave on top of it and start staging it into something that is digestible. The figure on top is a relational schema, basically the last 30 years of SQL. Dimensions and facts, it can grow into a snowflake or any type of data model. And this one at the bottom is how the same data is stored in a graph. Now the potential that this has when you think about migrating all your facts from SAP or ERP that you have into a digestible way for your LLM is to find a technology that allows you to meet both worlds. And that's where I think the money is, and a lot of people already shown the value of it, like Nick in the beginning of his session, where the large language model, I don't know, maybe stands in a stage 2 or 3, but at the end is the one making the connection between your relational data sources and non-relational data sources coming from the prompting of LLMs. If you're investing on this already, you will find the value out of it by enhanced graph AIs that will allow any use case from basic BI and creating reports to more advanced use cases on how you could use the same data for different scopes of how you're digitizing your company. Part of the, and almost finishing the slides, my takeaways are that if we allow the LLMs to give the context for us, then we're giving them the power. And it's not like a philosophical, apocalyptic view, but in a way, it is, because it's about decision making. Part of what I was asking to one Microsoft representative from OpenAI, because they visited us, was the following. He told us, well, we want to partner with you guys so that we can create a small language model for Oord, for the industry of maritime. And of course, you can use all our stack. We cannot give you the stack because ChatGPT and the model is too gigantic. We're the only ones that can operate it. Actually, to run ChatGPT a day, you need to spend $700,000 US on a daily basis to be able to operate it. So they told, all right, let's create an SML for you. And then you will populate this with the context of your business. And for me, a vessel is the same as a ship or a boat. You know, 3 terms, 3 concepts. For your mind is a different thing than me, maybe. And that is the business context. If you spend time creating that knowledge graph, actually you will be providing the knowledge that this lady has on the business back to your LLMs. And that is by far the most missing role that every organization has. They do not have a knowledge manager. Nick is an SME. He has been building for 25 years an LLM. So now the knowledge graph is actually based on the context of his organization. And that's why it's profitable, because it has the domain knowledge of the company. But if you have not invested on the organization actually having knowledge management, someone determining A is red, blue is green, then you're going to let the LLM do it for you. And that is where the money is at. Who's getting profit of this? Microsoft. Why? As the owner of OpenAI. Because every single worker in your company is fitting their LLM. So the context is already there. And you want to know the funny part of it? You're paying for it. You're paying for it. And it is quite a big concern in general, because we let our workers to use the LLM directly to Microsoft. Microsoft says it's free. Go ahead. Of course it's free. And then they will come to your door saying, we have an LLM for you based on your industry. How come? Well, we have been talking with 100 captains of your company. Huh? Yes, so we know everything about Svanen. So the era of Industry 5.0 is about knowledge and how you pay knowledge. I pay 20 a month. How much do you pay? So long story short, 6 things that I see in 5 years coming from this data lifecycle that I need to face now because of Copilot being part of our stack. Number 1 is the need of a knowledge management organization to build upon enterprise knowledge context, to build effective ontologies. Number 2, unified platforms as a must to acquire all possible data. Microsoft also made a big change, which was one lake, which is basically a layer that brings all the data into one place. So there is no batch querying. Everything is real time. So that's quite a big change as well. I think number 3 would be integrating LLMs, SLMs to the BI reference architecture so that the output can be used as input. One of the things that we were talking was that if I'm prompting this LLM on my device, I'm teaching him, her, that's my bias, sorry, it. So I'm teaching it, and at the end what I want is that my prompts go back into the back end of our reference architecture and train the company's worldwide knowledge. Do you have that? I don't think so. People are not connecting their devices back to the reference architecture. So you have a missing loop. 4, data engineers to enrich metadata and focus on optimizing models. There was a question about if there is a single knowledge graph that can be sourced by many knowledge graphs. I don't know the technicalities, but for sure will be a question on your table. But yeah, if you have one enterprise master data relational database sourcing from many, that would be the equivalent. Finally, report builders to detangle from not made here syndrome. I have a lot of people that are in the team that are very senior building effective UI and UX, and they don't like that you can actually ask Copilot to do it because basically she lost her career. There is a big change also happening on that side. UI and UX is up to you, like art. Everyone has an opinion on art. I cannot say that it's good or bad. And that is actually how BI is changing on the front end layer. That's it, my story. And if you have questions, you can find me at the table that we will mention later. I think it's outside. So thanks.